What's your maiden name, first and last name, and when were you born?
My maiden name is Lavinia Lowry.
Okay.
My maiden name. I was born in Mississippi, September the 22nd, 1932.
Okay. What part of Mississippi?
Starksville, Mississippi.
Starksville, Mississippi. And how long did you stay in Mississippi?
I lived there. I was born there. I stayed there. I left there when I was 10 years old.
Left?
I left there when I was 10 years old, and I come to Cincinnati, Ohio with my mom and dad.
Okay. And y'all moved to Cincinnati. What part of Cincinnati?
Well, my dad first stopped in Xenia, Ohio, and I went to school there for a minute. And I never went to school in Mississippi. I didn't go to school until I got to Cincinnati, Ohio.
So from 0 to 10, you never went to school from that age? Really?
No,
Okay.
I never went to school.
I didn't know that. So all the way to 10 years old, you had never went to school?
No.
So tell me more about Mississippi. And you said y'all went from Xenia then.
When I was in Mississippi as a little girl, my great-grandmother was living, and then at that time when
This was all in Starksville, Mississippi.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. My great-grandmother was living when I was in Mississippi, and I used to go to the cotton fields with my great-grandmother to pick cotton when I was a little girl. And I had a little girlfriend named, I used to run with her when I was in Mississippi, and they call her Sister Babe. And so my dad had left and came here to Ohio and left us in Mississippi, and he sent back for us to come up here and he got a job. And when he got a job, he sent for us to come up here from Mississippi. And so me and my mom and my brother Nathaniel, he was a little baby. And so we got the train and came up here from Mississippi, and I was 10 years old. And so we was on the train riding, and as a little girl, I was sitting in the caboose, but somehow I still remember, I don't know, it never got in my mind why we was on this train, and we was riding on this train, and in my mind as a little girl 10 years old, it was kind of hot, and the train was running real fast, and cold looked like it was popping up in the back of the train where we was.
Oh.
And so then we got off the train, and once someone picked us up and taken us to Xenia, Ohio, and that's where we first landed at, Xenia, Ohio. And then after we landed there, my dad was still in Mississippi, and then he sent for us to come up here he left Mississippi and he went to St. Louis, and he sent for us to come up here while we was living in Xenia, Ohio. And then my dad got a job. And then I went to school. I didn't go to school until I got to Xenia, Ohio, although I was 10 years old. I never went to school before I was 10 years old.
Wow.
And then I went to school, and I would say tote the water, chunk the water. I didn't say carry the ball or throw the ball, because I didn't know no better.
So
I would say,
you mean like your language, like the language barrier, like you use the words, different words than what they used up north.
Yes, I would say chunk the ball.
Got you.
Rather than throw the ball. I would say carry the water rather than tote the water. That's what I was speaking like when we left Mississippi as a little girl, 10 years old.
Okay.
Then I went to Xenia, Ohio school, and somehow, I don't know what it was as a child at that age, but somehow looked like Uncle Paul and Aunt Donnie, that was Daddy's sister's husband, Uncle Paul, and they were trying to teach me how to speak and say carry and not tote. You know, they was trying to teach me how to speak the English that they were speaking, which was carry and carry, and not tote and throw. They were trying to teach me the difference. So I went to Xenia, Ohio school, and I was 10 years old. And when I went there, I was speaking tote, chunk, tote, like that. Then they made fun of me. The children made fun of me, and they jumped on me and fought and was fighting me and drug me in the mud and everything like that. So the next day, as a little girl, I said, they ain't gonna do me like that no more, like they did me yesterday. I said, they ain't gonna do me like that. And somehow the Lord led me to get some kind of a protection, and I got me I don't want to say it,
You could say it. I mean,
I got me
it's 70 years, 80 years ago. How old are you?
90.
Oh, so that was 10. You said you was 10.
Yeah.
That was 80 years ago.
So I wanted to protect myself, so I got me a stick, and they had these big school doors. And so I put me some protection in the stick and put it behind the school door, so I know when I left out, it's gonna jump on me again. And so somehow the teacher found out what I had.
You said protection in the stick.
No, I know it's gonna jump on me the next day.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I went into school that morning, I put the stick behind the big school door to keep them, because I had some protection the next day when I came home. And so I think the teacher must have got a hold of what I was doing or something. And so that didn't ever happen. So after that, the teacher did find out what I had. And so after that, I told them what happened to me, and they had compassion for me and told me don't do that no more. And I never did that again anymore. So after that, we lived in Virginia about maybe after my dad wanted us to move from Virginia, Ohio. He wanted us to move from Virginia, Ohio, and he had came up here and got a job, and he bought a home. And when he bought the home, matter of fact, when we left Mississippi, we left my older brother and I with my great-grandmother to help her out. And I think my brother Leroy was left down there to help my great-grandmother out. But anyway, after we left Virginia, Ohio, then we moved to Cincinnati, Ohio. I mean, from Virginia, Ohio to Cincinnati. My dad bought a home on Chamberlain Street, and he left. Then we all came together. After my dad bought this home, we lived in the home.
So that was Chamberlain. That's Lincoln Heights.
Yeah, so Lincoln Heights.
How old were you when you moved to Lincoln Heights?
We moved from Virginia.
Were you still 10, or were you a little older?
I was older then. I guess I might have been about 12, maybe 12 or 13. I married when I was 16. After we moved from Virginia to Ohio, we lived on 531 Carlisle in Cincinnati, Ohio. And I went to Stowe Junior High School. And when I went to Stowe Junior High School, I guess I must have been around about 12, 11, I'm getting about 13 maybe, I'm not for sure. But I did go to Stowe Junior High School, and really, I guess when I didn't go to school that long, because I met my Robert Jones, and somehow I got married when I was 16 years old. And after that, I just worked from then on. I never did graduate. I think I must have went to school for about maybe 2 or 3 years or something. I'm not for sure. But I never did graduate. I never did graduate. I think I must have went about 2 or 3 years of school or whatever. I just don't hardly remember all that to just break it down in order like that. But anyway, I got married when I was 16 years old. We lived at 1256 Chapman Street in Lincoln Heights. My mom worked all the time, and I worked all the time, and I was just a person that always kept the house clean and worked and just looked out for everybody else. I looked out for my sister and my brother and everybody else. And a lot of things at 16 years old, my mom and dad had bought a home on Chamberlain Street. And we had a little house in the back of my mom and dad's house, and me and my Robert Jones, the one I married, we lived in the little house for a while. But I don't know what happened between him and I. I had a child when I was 17 years old, between 17 and 18. And after that, I don't know what happened to our marriage. We didn't have a marriage anymore.